Good morning. My name is Christopher Anderson, and I'd like to welcome you to a series of short talks. This is the first talk, and today is September 12, 2011. I'd like to begin with a poem. This is from the book To Cassandra. This is a series of poems that I wrote many years ago. This poem is entitled The Light. It has been said that buried deep within the heart, beneath all the truths, there lies a stillness that is the light, a light so bright that we cannot see. For so long this light has been shining, for no one to see. For so long the day came when this light, broken-hearted, began to weep, and its brightness turned to beauty. And the light looked upward, towards the night, and said, I am broken. And in that moment suddenly everyone could see this dimming light, and they laughed, saying to it, You are not so bright. The light recoiled, pulling itself inward to protect its wound, and buried itself deep within the heart, beneath all the truths, a light so bright. So what is it that is this light that is so bright, buried deep within? That's the question we want to ask in this series of short talks. What is this light? Now in the Bible, in 1 John 1 verse 5, it is said, God is light. God is light. Wow. Think of that. Well, that tells us what God is, but it doesn't tell us what the light is. Let me read from a quote from Walter Russell. Walter and Leah Russell happen to be my mentors out of the University of Science and Philosophy. And this is from his book, The Universal One, where he is saying God is light. Light, as man knows light, is but an unstable simulation of the real light of the Universal One. Man's concept of light is luminosity, an illusion of the universal light of inertia, sustained in its appearance as an illusion of light by the pressures generated through motion. The inner mind of a static man knows the real light, and that he is one with the light. He is not deceived by its illusion. So we get from this quote that the light is within us. The real light is within us. Seek ye the kingdom of God within, if we were to use a religious connotation there. And that we are one with this light. Kind of get a flavor of Eastern thought in this, being one with the light being everything. But it still doesn't tell us much about what actually the light is. And I think that's somewhat a problem with our religions. The religions seem to be somewhat unbounded. We can't get to a critical center point of something. What actually is the light, or the nature of this light? And so we might want to turn to science for this, but science has a different problem. Science tends to look outward, not within, but out into the world of effect, and go about their business, proving things, but they really don't have a base in a way. You may say they start from the Big Bang. But how did that work out? Where did that come from? What is this inner light? Another quote here, this one is from Henry David Thoreau, the great American writer, and he says, with all your science, can you tell me how it is that the light comes into the soul? See, science itself has a boundary. It seems that both religion and science kind of have a boundary to what they can do, or how they can bring forth or convey to us the nature of this light, this inner light. So we're in somewhat of a dilemma here. How can we get inside this light and see it for what it is? Dr. Russell says it's within us. I think most of us would agree with that. But how can we get to it? How can we understand it? Really know it, define it? These things are important to us. Let me read one more quote. This one is from Charles Williams. He's was a British writer, novelist, and poet. And he wrote a book called The Figure of Beatrice. You may remember Dante and his illumination was actually through his vision of Beatrice. And I think Charles Williams was maybe looking for a synthesis between spirituality and romanticism. And he says, a light that shone from behind the sun. The sun was not so fierce as to pierce where the light could. Isn't that incredible? The light is behind the sun. The light is behind the world, behind all the planets, behind the universe itself. There is this light. And that's what we want to get to in this series of short talks. This light, the nature of this light. The light recoiled, pulling itself inward to protect its wound, and buried itself deep within the heart, beneath all the truth, a light so bright. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time.